Hi, today we're going to take you driving in the Balkans. It's both an exhilarating and nerve-wracking experience. We've been here now 6 months and we're going to share our tips to make sure that you enjoy your driving safely and happily.
I'm Daryl.
And I'm Justine.
And we're the Breakaway Bravehearts.
And in this video, we're going to show you the benefits of driving in the Balkans, some of the challenges, shall we say, and we're going to give you tips and tricks to make sure that you're fully prepared. Number one benefit is it is stunning scenery, absolutely stunning. You've got the coastline that you're following along, you've got mountains in the background. Along the coastline as well, there are lots of places for you to stop and view, take your photos, which are all Instagram worthy kind of pics.
Yeah, you definitely would have seen a lot of beautiful photos of Montenegro and Croatia, all these places in Balkans. It really is stunning stuff.
You've got mountains, you've got lakes, you've got rivers, and along the way you've got tiny little villages that give you all the sort of culture that you can stop off at any time. So driving gives you that flexibility to be able to really see. And every country in the Balkans has different things to see along the way, right? You've got your castles obviously everywhere, but each little town has a different kind of feel to it. So it's really worth taking your time and driving through to see every little piece that you can and enjoy that experience.
And of course, one of the greatest benefits is that petrol prices are amazing, which means you can do these road trips and make the most of them. So you're not limited to your budget too much. Another thing you might need to worry about is your car actually needing a set of tires or being repaired. And those repair costs are actually quite cheap in the Balkans too, as we found out.
So petrol is cheaper, car repairs are cheaper, and in general, cost here of travelling is much cheaper than the rest of Europe that we've discovered so far. So we certainly count that as one of the major benefits.
Of course, we've got our own car here. However, you can also rent a car relatively cheaply. I have to say, certainly a lot cheaper than some places in Europe. We have done that in the past. But of course, we decided we were going to bring ours with us. So.
Along with those great benefits, there are a few challenges. So we do want to let you know what those are. Number one on top of my list is the roads. I find them very awkward to drive on. In fact, I avoid the back roads with all my might. I don't like driving in the back roads of Montenegro, Slovenia, those sorts of countries, Albania.
I think you just need a certain form of confidence to get on these roads. It is a joy. It is a test of your nerves. There's no question about it. But, obviously getting out onto the road, the benefits of it outweigh some of the stress that you might encounter.
It's not just road quality that makes me uncomfortable, it's the narrowness of the roads. A lot of the back streets don't have footpaths, and in the summer when there's a lot of people here, there's people walking along the roads. They don't seem to mind, they just keep going. There's cars going back and forth, and there's really only enough room for one car at a time. That's how I feel anyway. The roads are also very windy and a lot of potholes. So I find it really difficult driving in the back streets in Montenegro, Slovenia, Croatia. That makes me feel nervous.
And on top of that, you always have the local overtaking you. Or the other way around, you've got someone overtaking someone on the way towards you, which also it can be quite nerve-wracking at times.
The locals have a lot of confidence. They know the roads, right? So they tend to go a lot faster than even the suggested speed limit, and they tend to overtake on places that maybe I wouldn't choose to overtake on. So that can make you feel a little bit nervous. So it's just pays to be aware of that.
I think like Justine was saying, the speed limit seems to be more of a suggestion thing, although that said, there is governance, but for some reason it doesn't seem to affect the locals too much. It's amazing to think, actually, in this country, there's a word called polako, and polako basically means chilled, like, in your time kind of thing. Not on the roads. This does not apply.
One thing that you will hear a lot is the horns, right? They use their horns to communicate, and that doesn't seem to be aggressive. It's more about, okay, you go first, or thank you for pulling over. So you will hear the horn a lot, and it's nothing to be worried about. They also use their lights quite a bit, yeah? So
yes.
Your lights need to be on all day regardless, but they'll also use them to flash to say thank you or to come on through, or there's a policeman ahead. So that's handy to know too.
Actually, that brings me, I can give you quite a tip here. If you feel like your lights have been slightly dulled, you're driving in an older vehicle or whatever like that, it's really affordable to have your lights polished here. That's just a tip. While you're in the Balkans, get your lights polished.
Absolutely. Not only are the speed limits just a suggestion, but the parking lines and the white lines on the road for overtaking seem to be just kind of decoration. You'll see people parked in all sorts of interesting angles. And again, it's up to you whether you feel the need to meet the locals on their terms in that respect or stick to the white lines. Another thing we found a bit of a challenge here is that Google is not always your friend. Google Maps will take you to some very interesting places, though they might not be the ones that you expected to go to.
I think because these countries are developing and things are moving so fast and changing, that you just simply get led astray.
And into roads that maybe aren't quite suited to your car, or suddenly turn narrow, or just finish.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've had that a few times. We tried to explore a few vineyards one time and ended up going through some very interesting roads, meeting some chickens and farmers and all sorts of things.
But to be fair, they were a little bit off the beaten track and we didn't quite know what to expect.
We'll give you a tip about how to deal with that a little bit later in the video, but do understand that Google Maps isn't always going to take you exactly where you want to go or the best route. There is a reasonable amount of signage on the roadsides to tell you, but you don't always see it when you need it. And so sometimes there's times when we weren't 100% sure we were driving in the right direction.
I didn't know whether I went in the right direction or not in Albania, for example. But that said, it does pay to think ahead, look ahead, try and get a fair idea of which towns you might go through beforehand.
Lastly on our challenges list are the toll roads. They will give you the best roading surface, but they are expensive and you're not necessarily going to see everything that you'd want to see.
So absolutely, especially our journey through Croatia, we had quite a shock at how expensive that was.
31 euros to get from one side of Croatia to the other on the toll roads, and because it was a bad day we didn't see a thing. In fact, it was fog the whole way along, but even if it had been a sunny day, I don't think we would have seen the scenery or the coastlines. So after that we chose to take the non-toll roads.
That is without a doubt something that we have now recognised by driving in the Balkans, that if you want to get somewhere fast, you take the toll roads, you pay the price. If you have more time on your hands, you can make use of that by just taking it easy and taking those non-toll roads, which you get to see so much more.
Mm-hmm. So now we're going to go through some of the things that we've learned. This is going to help you prepare for your drive through the Balkans and also give you some tips and tricks along the way.
So firstly, your car. Your car choice is going to be very important. Most definitely with those potholes and everything else like that, you want something slightly robust, maybe even 4x4. A special benefit would be a high-ride vehicle. We have a little Ignis. We found that it's been perfect because it's got a short nose, it's got a short back, but it's higher than regular cars. Definitely, if you want to go off the beaten track, you definitely need to take into consideration that some of these roads are not sealed, and so that you've got gravel and things like that. So you have to be sure you've got the clearance. Of course, I mentioned earlier about the lights. There's another big reason for this is that a lot of the tunnels that you can go through are not lit. You need to have good lighting on your car.
As with anywhere, it's really important that you have car insurance. But one thing you need to take into consideration when driving in the Balkans is that some of these countries are EU and some are not. So you have to double check your insurance policy to make sure you're covered in every country that you drive into.
I do believe that for the EU, you do get yourself what used to be the green paper, which is now a white paper. And that pretty much helps you get through most of the Balkan countries these days. So, but always have that to hand. If you don't have it to hand and you're unsure, then amazingly at the borders, there is a potential place where you can get temporary insurance if needed. So you don't need to worry crazily about it, but if you've got it, then make use of it.
And also check the rules around your driver's license, because it might be slightly different from country to country. On a New Zealand license, I need an international driver's permit to drive here, but I'm actually using my German driver's license, so it's not a problem.
Like going to all countries, I think it's really important that you make the effort to learn at least a little bit of the language.
Just about everyone you'll meet in a service industry in the Balkans will speak a little bit of English. But in your smaller towns, it's not so likely. Your older generations, it's not so likely that they're going to have extensive English. But even if they do, just saying thank you, hello, and I can't speak your language in their language is going to be really helpful, right?
One thing we have found by traveling in the Balkans, which has been amazing, and the people are amazing, had a lot of surprises with regards to the level of English that can be spoken to us and to the efforts that the people go to. And failing all that, we've always got Google Translate. They tend to use Viber.
Make sure that you've always got data with you. Even if you feel like you won't need it for your maps, you are going to need it for Translate. If you ever get stuck or in an emergency or need help with anything, make sure you've got enough data to use Google Translate. Okay, going through borders, here's some tips. You can check, many of the borders have a live cam, a live streaming camera. And if you Google them, you can check when the queues are at their worst. And then you'll know whether that's a good time for you or not to go through. We say avoid Friday afternoons and Monday mornings especially, because most of these countries have workers coming in and out. You also need to make sure that you have all your paperwork handy, passports, car registration and insurance. So if you rent a car, make sure that they show you where those papers are in case you need to hand them over at a border.
Firstly, you might have to discuss with your rental car company. You might have some charges by taking the car over the border. So do take that into consideration when you do want to make road trips across the Balkans.
Some borders are pretty easy. In fact, we've found that they've got easier and easier the longer we've been here. Just recently we went out of the Balkans into Italy, Slovenia to Italy, and they just waved us on through without even checking. So as we mentioned, Google Maps is not always your friend, but the locals understand this. So if you need to get to a particular Airbnb or a specific place, just ask them in advance to send you a PIN, and they will send you either a map PIN or they'll send you really specific instructions on how to get there. Lastly, we strongly recommend you check your weather maps often. In the winter time, you may need chains or
winter tires.
Yeah, or all-weather tires for some of the regions that you're going to. So you need to check that in advance. Also, because the roads, like we said, they're not all that well built, so they can flood. There's surface flooding in the heavy rains, which does happen occasionally in the winter. But in the summertime, you've got the queues.
Absolutely. And if you haven't got air conditioning, you will know that you're in a car and cooking. So just take that into consideration, especially at borders as well. If you do have those long queues, then you might be in the sunshine for quite some time. So we hope that you found this video informative. We've had a great time in the Balkans and we continue to have a great time in Balkans. And we just hope that you'll get to enjoy the Balkans just as much as we did.
Everywhere we go, we're going to take the dash cam along with us and make some notes. So we'll do more videos on driving in different parts of Europe. If there's particular things you want to know, please make a comment in the comment section below, and then we'll look out for this as we drive. We really enjoy driving through the Balkans, through this part of the world, because of all the wonderful things that we get to see along the way, because of the flexibility that it offers us, and because it is cheap. It really is cost affordable. So we do recommend it, and we're glad that we've been able to give you all of these tips and tricks to make it safe and enjoyable.